developing products using traditional approaches, there has always been a chain of command and strict organizational structure. But with Scrum, everything changed. Scrum introduced a role that is totally new, Scrum Master. Inevitably, with a lot of organizations moving from a traditional waterfall model to Agile Scrum framework, there's a lot of confusion about what Scrum Master actually does. Hey guys, this is Archana from Edureka, and I welcome you all to this session on Scrum Master's roles and responsibilities. But before we actually begin, let's quickly go through today's agenda. So we will begin with a brief introduction to what Scrum is. Then we'll get started with who Scrum Master is. Moving on, we'll talk in detail about Scrum Master's roles and responsibilities. And lastly, we'll conclude this session by discussing the good traits a good Scrum Master should have. So I hope agenda was clear for you guys. Let's get started there. To understand the role of a Scrum Master, we need to gain an understanding of Scrum process. So what exactly is Scrum? Scrum is a lightweight agile management framework which is primarily used for software development tasks, including developing complete software packages or some components of larger systems. So the concept here basically is to break the large complex project into smaller stages, reviewing and adapting along the way, which makes it easier when compared to traditional waterfall approaches. So how does this entire process of Scrum happen? So basically the Scrum process starts with product owner. The product owner creates something called product backlog. It's a list of tasks that the team decides to do to create a project. After that, the entire team, which is product owner, the Scrum team, the development team, and the Scrum Master have a meeting and they decide on what tasks are important and which they should include in particular sprint. Those all tasks go to something else called a sprint backlog. After that, they have multiple meetings that discuss on how to proceed the tasks which are listed in sprint backlog. So we call them daily Scrum. So once the team is sure about what they're supposed to do and what their particular individual tasks are, they start working on the project. And somehow the sprint comes to an end. At the end of every sprint, they need to have a working piece of product. And that's what we call product increment. You need to remember that unlike traditional models where you get a working product only at the end, in Scrum and any other agile methods, you get a product increment or a working piece of product after every increment. Well, in this case, after every sprint. So after every sprint, you get a product increment. And then the team has a meeting called sprint review meeting where they discuss what went well during the sprint and what should they have done to improve any other thing and all that. After sprint review, there is sprint retrospective where the team plans on how to change things which went wrong in the sprint, how to make changes, how to make improvements and all that. And the cycle begins again until the entire product is developed or until the budget is exhausted or the timeline is reached, whichever comes first. So that's how an entire Scrum framework works. It begins with the product owner, him figuring out the product backlog. After that, sprint backlog is established. Based on that, the entire sprint works out. Then they have sprint review and retrospective. And at the end of every sprint, they have a product increment. Now you might be wondering, where does Scrum Master fit in here, right? So basically, Scrum framework has three important key roles: product owner, the Scrum Master, and the development team. The product owner is responsible for the work the team is supposed to complete. The main role of product owner is to motivate the team to achieve the goal and the vision of the product. Next up, we have Scrum Master. He is at the center of the Scrum, coordinating all project activities and linking customers and different teams that are part of the project. So you can say he is the heart of the Scrum process. Next up, you have development team. So basically, development team is a self-organizing and cross-functional team who carry out the work which happens during sprint. So they all work together to deliver projects. Let's explore more about Scrum Master. So guys, according to Scrum Alliance, an official website regarding Scrum, a Scrum Master is a facilitator for the team and the product owner. So rather than manage just a team, the Scrum Master works to assist both the team as well as the product owner. Let me give you a simple analogy. A Scrum Master is like a lighthouse in Scrum team, which is composed of product owner, development team, and the Scrum Master himself. A lighthouse helps sailors navigate easily through areas of danger, harbor entrances, and reach the shore safe and sound in one piece. Similarly, a Scrum Master helps the team overcome impediments and guides them to achieve the best result at the end of every sprint. He ensures that the team understands and lives by values and principles of Scrum. That's who a Scrum Master is. He makes sure that everyone is following Scrum rules and practices. But unlike other roles in the Scrum team, Scrum Master does not seem to be a straightforward role. He is not a project manager, neither a boss. He is not responsible for talking to stakeholders. He is not the one who will be held responsible if something goes wrong. He's not the person calling everyone in the Scrum meetings. So, if not all the above, what does a Scrum Master do then? Let's have a closer look at the role played by Scrum Master. Scrum Master is responsible to demonstrate various traits to maximize the Scrum team's performance and productivity. So he or she is responsible for making the team do their best by overcoming plausible obstacles that they might come across when they're working. And to do that, Scrum Master plays different roles. Basically, he serves three groups of people: product owner, development team, and the organization. Let's discuss how he serves each one of them in detail. First up, we have product owner. Scrum Master serves the product owner in multiple ways. First of all, he helps product owner find effective techniques to manage product backlog effectively. He ensures that the product owner knows how to manage the product backlog to maximize the value of the team and the work they are doing. He also facilitates Scrum events like meetings, reviews, retrospective as and when needed by the product owner. He also helps product owner understand and practice agile principles very thoroughly. He makes sure that the goals and the scope of the project are understood by everyone in the team. This way, the product backlog, which is owned by the product owner, is in perfect shape. Lastly, he also imparts the understanding of product planning in an empirical environment. So naturally, a Scrum Master is adept at being agile and can practice agility. They know agile as a way of approaching a project and can set up meetings as and when needed to direct or pass on information about the process. And they also make sure that the product owner have an idea about empirical environment or empirical concept which the Scrum is based on. Well, that's about the product owner. Let's see how Scrum Master services the development team. So when it comes to Scrum team, a Scrum Master acts as a coach, helping them to self-organize and work cross-functionality. He also assists the team in creating a high-value product by removing obstacles or what we call impediments in their process and coaching them through different meetings or other venue whenever help is needed. So basically, if you're wondering what an obstacle or impediment is, it can be anything that slows down the team's progress and it's stopping them from doing their work. So the Scrum Masters removes all such bottlenecks, impediments, obstacles and all that and make sure the Scrum team is working with perfect pace and performance. Just like he did for the product owner, he facilitates Scrum events as and when requested by the entire team. Importantly, he makes sure that the entire team understands and they follow the Scrum values and principles. And sometimes it's quite possible that the organization is really new to Scrum. So the team and the product owner, both of them doesn't know much about Scrum. So in such cases, Scrum Master, who is well versed in Scrum principles, guides the team when Scrum is not yet fully adopted and understood. So apart from serving the product owner and the development team, the Scrum Master also contributes his services to organization as a whole. But how? Let's check it out. So Scrum Master serves organization in multiple ways. Like first of all, he guides and coaches organization in adopting Scrum framework and agile principles, or you can say agile manifesto, the 4 values and the 12 principles. He also makes sure that all the employees and the stakeholders in organization, it can be external or internal stakeholders, understand and implement Scrum practice with ease. He also helps them understand Scrum empirical theory, thoroughly plans Scrum implementation within the organization. He boosts up the communication and collaboration amongst different stakeholders and team members. He also works with other Scrum Masters to increase the effectiveness of the application which is developed using Scrum. Not only that, he also makes changes to increase the productivity of the entire organization and the Scrum team. So, this sums up different roles of a Scrum Master. This is how a Scrum Master serves product owner, development team, and organization as a whole. This way, Scrum Master is at the center of the Scrum team, coordinating all the project activities and linking customers and different teams that are part of a project. So, after listening to all this, Scrum Master may sound like a new term for project manager. Those familiar with the Scrum, however, know that the truth is really different. Instead of telling, Scrum Master coaches. Instead of directing, Scrum Master guides. Instead of being the authority, Scrum Master serves. The Scrum Master role is designed not to manage, but to facilitate the team orientation of the project. In this way, Scrum Master and project owner are not really the same. So now let's talk about the responsibilities of Scrum Master, which I just listed out in detail. So the first thing that a Scrum Master does is it removes or clears the obstacles and impediments. In Scrum terms, an impediment is anything that keeps the development team from making a decision or moving forward with the task that they are doing. Obstacles can come in many forms and from different directions. Like, for example, it could be technical or operational issue. It could be team seniority issue, or it can be project blockade that impede the progress of the team. It can be business problems or external issues such as weather, war, and all that. Or it can be lack of skill or knowledge. Or it can also be missing project resources. All these are nothing but impediments or obstacles that might hinder team's progress. So all of these that cannot be solved by the team comes to Scrum Master for resolution. Scrum Master then prioritizes these impediments based on their impact and the risk they might have on the team and start resolving them one by one. At times, they even anticipate when such problems will arise and lay the groundwork before itself so that they can avoid the problems. So, how does a Scrum Master actually clear the obstacles? They have their own ways. Importantly, they use their connections and hence by relying on the support from executive level management. And that is why engaging executives and finding project champions is also important for the success of the Scrum. So basically, if the Scrum team is stuck on an issue and requires outside opinion for help, the Scrum Master needs to help produce that assistance right away. This way, he removes impediments and obstacles that might hinder the progress and the speed of the team. Next up, Scrum Master is a team's facilitator. The word facilitator itself tells everything. A Scrum Master facilitates and organizes all Scrum events requested by the product owner and the development team as and when needed. He is responsible for cultivating the right working environment for the entire team. This includes everything from a physical workspace to communication tools to make sure that the team follows Scrum values and all that. Regarding the Scrum team environment, Scrum Master's responsibilities take several forms. For example, he ensures that each person on the team receives an equal voice. They have their choice or chance to voice their opinion. He facilitates the team in making important decisions that would increase the productivity of team as a whole. He fosters an environment where everyone feels safe sharing their viewpoint and rest of the members in team value that viewpoint. So Scrum Master never masters the team ordering around, rather he helps them in achieving it by coaching and guiding. This way, a Scrum Master is team's facilitator. Most important thing is Scrum Master as a servant leader. Servant leadership mainly focuses on collaboration, trust, empathy, and the usage of power ethically. Scrum Master is often called as a servant leader of the Scrum team. So, as a servant leader, what does Scrum Master actually do? As a servant leader, Scrum Master is basically responsible for setting up Scrum team as a servant process, but not as a commanding process, guiding the development team towards self-organization and cross-functionality, shielding the team from disturbance and external threats, helping the team make visible, remove and prevent impediments, leading the team through healthy conflict and debate. So as you can see, I've mentioned few points and you might have heard words like setting up, guiding, shielding, helping, leading. So all these words indicate nothing but servant as well as leader. So in this way, Scrum Master is a servant leader. As a servant leader of team, he should have certain characteristics like he should be humble, You should have a foresight. You should be able to listen and observe the team as and when needed. You should be trustworthy. You should be able to coach and guide and many other things. So basically, in simple terms, Scrum Master is someone who asks, what can I do to help the team achieve their goal, rather than ordering around saying, do this task by the end of the sprint. So he's not a master of the team, but a master at encouraging, enabling, and energizing the entire team and making them realize their potential. Next up, we have Scrum Master addresses team dynamics. So because team dynamics is at very heart of Scrum, Scrum Master must address the issue where the team orientation is not being met. So as you know, product owners are the liaisons between the team and the business. They're responsible for maintaining the backlog, which we discussed earlier, the product backlog, which is the team's to-do list. They're also in charge of prioritizing the user stories that will be included in each production sprint. It's imperative that product owner and the development team are on the same page. Making sure that happens is the responsibility of Scrum Master. So skilled Scrum Masters will know when and how to dissolve the tension between the product owner and the development team, and when to let it play out. In such a way, he should address team dynamics. As you know, just like any family, tight-knit development team will have conflicts now and then, right? Scrum Masters need to make sure all the members are treated fairly, that decisions are made by team consensus, and that personal conflicts are resolved very easily. So when conflicts continue or become personal, it can actually disrupt the team progress, right? So a good Scrum Master will first try to mediate such a dispute, and then he'll try to find the common ground or the reason for why that's happening. If he fails to do that, or if he fails to address the issue, then he might seek external help to resolve any such differences. Next up, we have Scrum Master as an interference shield of the team. Scrum Master is the protector of the team. He helps the team by protecting it from outside interference. And therefore, I just said Scrum Master as interference shield of the team. So often, outside influences will try to control a Scrum team's output, and they'll dictate technical design strategies or create unnecessary constraints and many of the troubles. This, of course, negates the whole premise of a self organized Scrum team, right? It has the word self organized. So outside decisions shouldn't affect the team. The Scrum Master must protect the development team's ability to make their own decisions. Scrum Master must use his connections and the support of executive level management to avoid this kind of influence. So basically, in simple terms, Scrum Master must protect the development team from any other external influences and help them make their own decisions. Lastly, Scrum Master coaches the team in the Scrum. Last but certainly not the least, the Scrum Master is typically the most familiar with Scrum practices and guidelines, right? So they must coach the team on how Scrum works, and more importantly, why. When every member can see the value of Scrum and operate effectively within the Scrum team, it's when you achieve the best results. And Scrum Master somehow makes sure that this happens. He makes sure that everyone in the team understands what Scrum is, and they adhere to the Scrum values and practices to achieve the best results and achieve their individual goals as well. And like any good guide, the Scrum Master does not solve the problems faced by the team himself. Rather, he helps the team understand the problem that they're facing and realize or make them realize how to solve the problem. So, in this way, a Scrum Master plays a pivotal role in balancing the interest of the other two Scrum roles, who are product owner and the development team. Now that we know what are the roles and responsibilities of a Scrum Master, let's conclude this session by listing out the qualities that a good Scrum Master must and should have. Like I said earlier, a Scrum Master is a servant leader of the team. The term servant leader itself lists out many qualities, like you should have observation skills, you should be able to listen to others' opinion without any partiality. You should have the foresight of predicting the troubles or obstacles that the team might come across and that might hinder their performance. He should be humble, trustworthy, approaching or approachable, transparent as such. Apart from this, first of all, he should be influential as well. Like, he should have the command to make the stakeholders listen to him and adopt to the Scrum practices and values in the organization. He should be collaborative, which we discussed earlier, as in he should manage the team dynamics. He should help the development team and the product owner to be on the same page and remove any conflicts that arise between them. He should be observant and he should be leader. That way, he's a servant leader of the team. He should be transparent, as in whatever he's doing should be visible to team. He shouldn't do any work secretively in that manner. And lastly, he should be knowledgeable. Out of entire team, he is one person who should be aware of Scrum values and practices. That way, he should be knowledgeable. Because the main aim or the goal of a Scrum Master is to make the Scrum team and the organization and the stakeholders understand what Scrum values and practices are and how to follow them. So he should be knowledgeable as well. So, guys, with this, we have reached the end of the session. I hope you've understood what are the roles and responsibilities of a Scrum Master and what does a Scrum Master actually do in a Scrum team. Well, if you have liked the session, please do click on the like button and subscribe Edureka channel. If you have any queries or doubts, you can put them in the comment section below and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you, guys. I'll meet you in next session with another interesting topic.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!